Well, guys, we've got a lot to get into in today's video. The first padded practice actually took place this morning. We're going to get into that tomorrow, just because we got to talk about the first two practices overall. We're going to talk about Bo Nix. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about Courtland Sutton's extension, 4-year, $92 million, which means that he's under contract for the next 5 years, because he came into the season, of course, on what was it? 1 year, $14 million deal that was still left. Given that Sutton is 29 years old, the Broncos didn't want to make him one of the highest paid receivers, but they still wanted to get him long term because of what he did last season, really what he's done since he's been here. But specifically last season, he was an absolute playmaker for the Broncos, and he was Bo Nix's go-to guy, especially because there wasn't a lot offensively for the skill positions for Denver. We don't even need to get into the running backs, but just receivers, tight ends. Like the tight end room was the worst in football. Marvin Mims got going late in the season. Troy Franklin caught a 44-yard touchdown against the Bills, but there wasn't a lot of consistency. Courtland Sutton certainly brings that, and he brought it. So getting him extended is massive, and he's only going to be averaging $23 million per season, which is tied for the 18th most among NFL receivers. That's not bad at all. And the next couple of years are guaranteed, but after that, 2027, it's not fully guaranteed. So depending on if he does fall off, then the Broncos can let him go. And to that point, all of these younger receivers on the roster will be developed, like Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. There's also 4 undrafted receivers on the roster that are competing for a spot. So I'm not concerned with the future receivers. It's more so of just right now. And I think the easiest thing for the Broncos to have done was to lock up Sutton and, of course, to improve the run game, because the offensive line is elite and they go up against the defense every single day in practice, which only helps them because there isn't a better defensive line, in my biased opinion, than Denver. So you have the best O-line and the best D-line going at it in practice every day. And, week 1 is against the Tennessee Titans. So this team is going to be ready to go. And just compared to last season as well, it's just night and day. I mean, Denver, just the feeling I get seeing the practices and just the crowd, this is going to be a huge season for the Broncos. They truly believe they're the best team, not only in the AFC West, but in the AFC in general. And last season was a 10-win season. I get that there were struggles against some of the top teams, but when you got a rookie quarterback, there's only so much you can do. And Bo Nix, I think he's had a lot of ups and downs, growing pains, but he did meet with Drew Brees. And I think that overall that conversation went very, very well, in the sense that Knicks learned what it's going to take to be able to win. Because you look at Breeze and Peyton Manning, obviously, who won a Super Bowl here, and Eli Manning, who won a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. Those are the guys you want to talk to, and that's who Bo Nix is studying and modeling his game after. And you have to also realize as well, and I know I kind of just touched upon it, but this defense that he's going up against, it was already a top 5 in football last year. The only holes were, of course, the middle of the defense, specifically stopping the run. So what do the Broncos do? They go out and they get Talanoa Hufanga, and they go out there, of course, and they get Dre Greenlaw, both from the Niners. They also have several returning players that were hurt last season that are ready to go. Drew Sanders did actually get hurt, and he's going to miss the start of the season, which is unfortunate because I thought he had a really good practice on Friday. It was his first one. He had this one play where he just went right up the middle and was able to get a run stop. That's a big-time play. The inside linebackers specifically have been great because, again, you have to realize, like Alex Singleton and Greenlaw, these guys are getting eased in, which set up more playing time for other players, and they've certainly lived up to that. But just from what we've seen so far, we'll talk about what happened on Monday. I haven't actually even looked into that, so I got to go look at like the tape and the notes and things like that. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But from the first 2 days, you've got to be very, very pleased if you're a Broncos fan, because the defense has just been so dominant. Marvin Mims has been making plays. Bo Nix, he's had a lot of good throws as well. He had this one throw to Devon Villey, though, that they just weren't in sync. So it's going to take some time. But I do think that the next couple of days, we're going to be talking a lot more about the offense. The defense, we all knew it was going to win the first couple of practices, but once the pads comes on, Bo Nix is going to have this offense ready to go. And I cannot wait. And it just, there's so much depth at receiver. Pat Bryant and Juwan Newton, and even like Devon Villay, Marvin Mims Jr., Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin. Franklin had an amazing first day of practice. He was just an absolute playmaker out there. And if he can take that year two leap, it's only going to make the offense even better. And I can't wait. But let's get into the notes, man. I'll go over specifically like what exactly happened. So we're only going to talk about day two because, day one was Friday. So we'll get into what happened, of course. So on Saturday, the Broncos spent much of their second practice of training camp with a focus on red zone scenarios. Players had Sunday off, which means, of course, that Monday is going to be the first padded practice. Third-year linebacker Drew Sanders suffered an apparent lower body injury during the second of three team periods and had to be carted off the field. He's going to miss an extended period of time, which means that he's not expected to return before the Broncos kick off the regular season against the Titans. Bo Nix had a rocky start to 11 on 11 work after completing a short flare to Marvin Mims Jr. He was chased out of the pocket following pressure from John Franklin Myers and was forced to throw the ball away. He was then nearly intercepted by cornerback Chris Abrams-Draine after an apparent miscommunication on a route with wide receiver Devon Bailey, which I did mention a couple of minutes ago. I was just kind of like paraphrasing the notes. Though later on, Nix maneuvered the pocket and found Mims on a crossing route for a first down. He then launched a perfect fade ball in the corner of the end zone for rookie wide receiver Pat Bryant, who grabbed the ball at its high point before Abrams-Draine made a nifty play to swipe the ball away. It's going to be tough to get anything going offensively against this defense. Even if it is the second string is still better than some of the first string for these defenses. Like Abrams-Draine, he'd play pretty much on every other team. Like he's that good. Just Denver's just so deep in the secondary. I mean, they have the best defensive player in football in Patrick Surtain, and then they also drafted, of course, Jahdae Barron out of Texas Hook'em. Not to mention as well, you got Jaquan McMillan, PJ Locke. Like a healthy McMillan is an absolute stud, and he's not even going to be starting. This team is just so deep. And even beyond that, Riley Moss. You talk about a guy who can make plays in the secondary. When he went down, the Broncos defense just wasn't the same. So a healthy Moss is going to be huge across from Surtain as well. And then the defensive line, the linebackers, it's such a deep defense. I remember was it Brandon Jones, I want to say? Yeah, it wasn't Brandon Jones. Or no, I think it was Brandon Jones. Yeah, he was talking about how this is just the deepest defense. Yeah, no, it was Brandon Jones. He ended up saying after practice on Saturday that he's never been on a defense with as much depth as the Broncos unit has. And that's exactly how I feel as well. And I've been talking about it all off season, and a lot of people seem to disagree with me, and it's very confusing. I mean, how could you have watched Denver's defense last season and not thought that they had an incredibly deep defense? I get the Bills kind of exploited them, but there's a reason why Denver brought in Hufanga and Greenlaw to clear that up. And guys returning from injury is going to make it even better.